gentlemen, and welcome back to Just Because Wrestling. We are here after a huge week in wrestling. Unfortunately, we had a guest booked for the show, but life gets in the way, and you know, more so bad Wi-Fi connections prevented it. So we have rescheduled with them. Um, Hopefully, it'll be out in the next 2 weeks. You know, obviously disappointed we couldn't get the interview done today, but at least we have rescheduled, and hopefully we will be back in the coming weeks with that, and we have a couple of more exciting guests booked for episodes of future podcasts too, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, something to look forward to anyway.
Yeah, but for this week's episode, you were stuck with the old format of just us, and I suppose it's apropos in a way, because I suppose analyzing wrestling is something we've done for a long time, and this week more than any week recently needs analysis. So
Jesus.
Yeah, so
it does.
So we'll get right into it, and we might as well. Normally, what we do is we start from the card up, but we will start with addressing the major elephant in the room, which is the finish to AEW's Revolution pay-per-view on Sunday night, early Monday morning, very early Monday morning in our time. So, yeah, the end to the exploding barbed wire death match. Billy?
Yeah. Jeez, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's literally the definition of, going out in a whimper instead of a bang. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it was such a shame as well, because the match, I thought up until that point, was quite good. It was very entertaining. It was quite tense, like, because obviously the whole element of the explosions and stuff, you didn't know when someone was going to hit off something and cause an explosion, and you didn't know, they didn't have the timer on the screen until the last 10 seconds, I think it was, or the last 30 seconds or something. So, which I thought was a good touch, because it left kind of, it was hanging in the back of your head, and it kind of almost put you in the ring with the wrestlers, because you're imagining that they are also thinking, geez, I don't know how much time is left. I don't know how long I have until the ring explodes. But like the show as a whole for me didn't necessarily hit home. I thought it wasn't bad, but I didn't think it was. I thought it was okay. Like, I thought it was like a 6 out of 10. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think AEW for this show were a victim of their own success, because they've set such a high standard, especially for pay-per-views, that this one, although it wasn't a bad pay-per-view,
well, it wasn't bad by any standard. Like,
it was just, it was okay. It was a good pay-per-view, but like with AEW's pay-per-views, especially because they're so few and far between, and they're normally well built towards, you're expecting a high standard of pay-per-view, especially compared to Revolution last year.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I don't think this was a one match card. I don't think like the whole show was built around one match, because I think there was plenty of matches that people were looking forward to.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that they were putting on a barbed wire death match in the main event, I think a lot of people were watching the show primarily for that. And
yeah, and even for myself, and I'd imagine you're probably the same, when you're watching these pay-per-views here in Ireland or in Europe, it's on very, very late. And
especially with 1 a.m. start time. With a 1 a.m. start time, like, it started at 1 a.m. here, and
8 p.m. Easter or 8 p.m. whatever over there.
Yeah, it didn't finish till about, I think, 4:30.
Yeah, even closer to 5 a.m. I'd say.
Yeah, which is like WWE don't even run that late, you know what I mean? And
WWE started midnight our time, which would be 7.
Yeah.
their time. But
Like,
like, yeah, the 8 p.m. start didn't help, and see, my thing with it for the point I was making was, I usually, when pay-per-views run really really late like that, like like 8 times, 7 times out of 10, I'll I'll get to a point at about 3:30, and I was getting to that point watching this pay per view where I'm kind of nodding off and I'm kind of falling
yeah,
asleep, and then I
yeah,
just go, yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna go to bed and I'll finish the rest of this. I'll watch the rest of it in the morning. But
yeah,
I fought through the sleep because I was like, no, I want to stay up and I want to watch the barbed wire death match. So I even took like a 10 minute nap in
yeah.
between.
I
I
know,
think,
because I thought that already, because I remember I was texting you, and obviously we were keeping in contact during the show, and there was a period where, like, you stopped replying for like literally like 10 to 15 minutes, and I remember
yeah,
going in my head, I was just like, yeah, he's gone.
I
And
can't remember what the match was. I think it
I think
was.
it was the ladder match, was it?
It was the
Or
lad. Yeah, I missed the majority of the ladder match.
yeah,
Um,
which was fine because I actually thought that was pretty crap. But
yeah, I haven't watched it back, but yeah, I was
you,
like, you know what? No, I'm going to check out because I wanted to see Sting and Darby Allin and what they did there
yeah,
as well. And I
that's
was kind of nodding off, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a 10 minute nap here now, and I'm going to get up, or I'm going to set my alarm and wake back up to watch the rest of it. But I wouldn't have. My point was, I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't a barbed wire or exploding barbed wire death match,
yeah.
because I just wanted to see what it was like. And I would imagine if I was thinking that, a lot of people would have bought this pay per view just for that match as well.
Yeah, because like I like me personally, I had college and work the next day. Like, I had college at 9 a.m. till about 2, and then I had work at 6, I think, till about 11. So I was like, Jesus, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to
Do
pay?
this to your body.
Do I really want to pay money to do this? And, and like, but then, like, it was literally the fact that like, it was, you're gonna see an exploding barbed wire death match. When is likely the next time you're gonna see one?
Yeah,
And that, combined with the, like, obviously it was Sting's first match in 6 years, and you know all that stuff. So I was like, right, fuck it, let's do it. Like, and yeah. And the thing is, do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of the times, and I know it's happened to you and it's happened to me in the past, that we've stayed up for pay-per-views, and we've tuned in for pay-per-views based off one match. And a lot of the time, it's the hope that that match is on relatively early in the card, because then you can go to sleep afterwards. But then
yeah,
AEW and WWE and all the other promotions know that one match is probably going to garner more intrigue than others, and they're going to put it on last. So you have to stay around for the full card. But yeah, look, it obviously was a massive intrigue. It was a match that is rarely ever seen. Definitely never. I think it probably has been done in the likes of BCW and stuff back in the day. But
yeah.
like,
I was trying to think. I don't think ECW ever did it, but like, even at that, like a major promotion. I know
yeah,
ECW was a major promotion, but I don't think they did it. So I don't think any major US promotion has put on a match like that.
yeah. So it was the first time for a lot of people, and the fact that they put so much into it. They brought, like, Onita made an appearance on Dynamite to promote it and everything, and you're just like, yeah, and plus it's Moxley, and it's something, like, Moxley is a lunatic, Omega is a lunatic in his own right. He's just as crazy, just he's
Yeah,
not as gritty, and so you're like, let's have a look, and it was really good, because just the sheer tenseness of it. I don't want to say intensity, but just the like, there's moments where you're like, you didn't know who was going to touch off the barbed wire first, who was going to get thrown through barbed wire, barbed wire boards or anything, like,
yeah,
and then when it starts happening, the explosions start happening. Obviously, you know in your own head that like they're not going to be proper, like they're not actual landmines. They're not going to actually blow someone up here, but like still, it looks quite impressive. And then obviously the big, the big question mark of when's the ring going to blow up, and then it happened, and we all know what happened.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I like, because obviously they've come out now since, and they've explained it and explained. All right, so if you don't know, if you haven't seen it, basically the big massive final explosion that was meant to kill John Moxley was a literal, like, it was sparklers. It was sparklers and a puff of smoke, and that was it.
Yeah.
But Eddie Kingston, so they handcuffed Moxley in the ring. The Good Brothers and Omega handcuffed him in the ring, and they leave him for dead. And then down comes Eddie Kingston to make the save and try and get Moxley out of there, and obviously he can't, so he just covers him to shield him the blast as much as possible, and like kind of redeems himself. And then it happens, and Eddie Kingston sells it like he's been literally blown up. And people were like, "Oh, for God's sake, that looks so terrible." And almost immediately, Tony Khan came out and said, like, Kenny Omega designed this bomb. It was obviously never going to work as meant to. He drew the plans with crayons, and they've come out on Dynamite this week, and Eddie explained that he just got flashbacks to when he was in prison and he was awaiting trial.
We'll talk about that like in a while, but like he did do a great job on the explanation.
They've done a great job of explaining it, bar one piece for me, and that is, if you watch it back, it's the commentary. If you listen to the commentary, like, there is no way to explain it, because they talk like it's been a massive explosion, and like Tony Schiavone's like, "Oh my God," like, and he's screaming, and JR is like, "The heat, you can feel the heat." I wonder, like, you can only imagine what they're feeling and stuff. And
God bless him, JR done his best.
I thought that was a decent enough kind of attempt, just to say that it was just heat exposure, but they do sell it as if it was like this big massive, nuclear bomb went off,
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's also, like, in my opinion, like, I think what happened there was, it wasn't as big of an explosion as they thought, or like, it just visually sucked, and then they were scrambling. I don't think the idea ever going into it was that Kenny's bomb was going to be a dud.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think this was, I guess, a botch. I think it was. They did think that it was going to be an impressive looking explosion. That was going to be it. But I suppose it's one of those things that, like, how many times could they feasibly practice this?
Yeah.
Like, I can't see them having set the bombs off before, because they're obviously expensive. So how many times can you do that?
Yeah.
Like, were they meant to be bigger? I don't know. I saw one person had a really good theory, actually, that they should have done a segment where it was revealed that Michael Nakazawa
was the guy who rigged it.
Yeah. Which would have
been, wouldn't know, they might do that on BTE or something.
Yeah, but, that would have been good. But like
but the one thing I actually kind of thought of there, when I was thinking about it, like, even if they'd done something like, the ring at least going down, kind of like, like they did with Brock and Big Show.
Yeah.
Even like knock the ring post over. At least make it look like something actually exploded rather than just a big bang.
Yeah, I saw someone as well say, like, just literally combine Kane's entrance with the ring collapse, and it would have been at least a bit more believable.
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully they learn from that.
Yeah. And at least, look, it was a good match up until that point. It was kind of as brutal as we expected it to be.
The match was great because the match was over at that point. Like, the match was great. And I did think, because I texted you right before the explosion went off, I was like, this is brilliant. Because I did think the story of Eddie Kingston coming out and saving Moxley was just brilliant storytelling. And I just thought, if it would have been brilliant if the explosion actually went off, because the idea of Eddie Kingston kind of taking the bullet, having this kind of redemption storyline, kind of like a Theon Greyjoy type story where it all comes full circle, and saving his friend John Moxley, it would have been perfect. But obviously the explosion just made him look stupid. But and I the reason I hesitated there is because I obviously don't blame him. You know, it's not his fault. The explosion was shit,
Like,
and he done a very, very good job of recovering, because not many people would have recovered from that. And I was worried actually that I was like, is this going to make Eddie Kingston look really, really stupid from now on? But
yeah.
like, he's one of the very few people who can talk himself out of that situation, which was, you know, hats off to him for that.
Yeah, and like I think you have to give a certain amount of credit as well to Dan Callis, because
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
Callis came out on Dynamite as well this week and said like, oh, there was never gonna be an explosion. The whole thing was just to mess with Moxley and to keep him on his toes. Like, we knew we were safe the whole time. Like, it was, you know, it was so Moxley would have something extra to think about, and like it was just and you know, just these little things that, you know, I suppose, like, I hate comparing the two, but you know, if you were to think about WWE, if this was WWE that and this happened, like, I can guarantee you on Raw, it would never even be mentioned. Like, it never. If this would have been if this had been a WWE pay-per-view on Sunday and this explosion had happened, exactly the same, we'd be tuning on Raw to absolutely no explanation, absolutely no fallout.
Yeah, and the example I'd give, because I was trying to think back to the last time there was such kind of a dud finish to a pay-per-view, and I would say it's Seth Rollins and the Fiend in the Hell in a Cell, and they kind of just brushed that under the rug and, you know, didn't really explain it.
Or like another example, because obviously the Fiend is a perfect example, because he's obviously the kind of main person in WWE now, where, you know, doing all the shit that, you know, can't be explained kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like that, like during that feud with Rollins, like that time where Rollins just appeared in the Funhouse, but then
never explained it.
Yeah, then the following Mania, you know, John Cena's in the Funhouse, but it's like this alternate dimension.
Well,
And
yeah, Seth Rollins just made it look like a set backstage.
it's
like,
just
literally,
there's a room backstage that Bray Wyatt's decorated that, like,
he's just taking as his office.
John, his name's on the door and everything. Like, they could just find who told him it was there? Do you know what I mean? Like,
does he go to every arena just with his box of stuff and just set up like?
but imagine, like, just think back to like literally 10 minutes before Rollins enters the Funhouse. Like, what's he doing? Walking around asking producers, like, where's Bray's room? Where's
where's he set up today?
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's these things, like, obviously we know wrestling is silly, and there's things in wrestling that you do have to kind of suspend your disbelief for, like, such as, you know, Bray Wyatt's whole shtick, and, you know, the exploding barbed wire death match. Like, obviously no one was going to get exploded, like, obviously, but like, you do have to pretend, if you want to enjoy it to the maximum, you do have to pretend that will happen. And when that doesn't happen, or at least it doesn't even look like it happens, it does look terrible.
And it's just to show about how ridiculous wrestling is. Like, I got up the next morning. I got up Monday morning, and like you know, I had to get up early as well for college, so, you know, didn't get much sleep, and like, was just talking to my girlfriend, and I was just like, oh, I'm because at that point, because I had such a lack of sleep as well, I was like, I'm just annoyed because, like, I stayed up, I fought sleep, and it was just shit, like, and
yeah.
she was like, what was it? And I was like, and then as I was explaining it, I realized that this just sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was like, well, it was supposed to be an exploding barbed wire death match, and there was a countdown, and at the end, the ring was supposed to explode. And she was like, what? And then I was like, and then the explosion wasn't big enough. And she was like, yeah, but like, obviously they don't want people to get hurt. And I was like, yeah, but they could have done it without anyone getting hurt and still done a big explosion. And
Yeah.
then I just I had to send her a video of the explosion and be like it just.
Look
And
at this.
I was like, look, and then I was I was getting further and further into the rabbit hole and realizing that she doesn't really care because she's not
Yeah.
a wrestling fan. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it makes the two guys in the ring, especially the guy covering the guy lying down, it makes him look stupid then because he acts like he was killed and it wasn't an explosion and all this. And yeah,
Yeah.
it was,
I've totally given up on ever trying to get my girlfriend interested in wrestling. I tried very briefly.
I'm still trying.
I know she's never going to be interested. Maybe some way down the line there'll be someone who will speak to her on a level that she'll be interested. Maybe, I'll never say never, but like
she watches, like my girlfriend watches a few things with me. Like she only watches things if I tell her, if I explain to her what it is, and it's just ridiculously out of the realm, like the example, the last thing she watched with me was the eye for an eye match with Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
But she was like, wait, so someone is going to lose an eyeball, and I was like, yes, that's what they're saying. I don't know.
That's what they're
and stuff like that, and I've agreed to make to make a big or cook for WrestleMania, make a big spread, so that has enticed her enough to agree to watch WrestleMania with me this year. So at least there's that, and I've been trying to explain Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton to her just so she's prepared for what's going to happen at WrestleMania. But other than that, yeah, I don't think she's ever gonna love wrestling, but she tolerates it a lot more now than she used.
She's not gonna turn on Raw when you're not around. And,
Jesus, I don't even turn on Raw.
Or she's not gonna text you being like, oh my god, you see what happened on Dynamite last night?
Yeah.
With my girlfriend, like I tried once. And I'll never forget, and it hurt me so deeply because it's one of my all-time favorite, like literally top 3 favorite matches of all time. It was Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 11.
Yeah.
When that match happened, I remember, like, I rarely watch like a match twice. Do you know what I mean? I'll like
in if I watch succession, like.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, maybe, yeah, like it could be literally years before I watch a match for a second time, like,
Yeah.
Usually the only time I ever do it is if we're watching an old pay-per-view back, or if I'm in your house and you're waiting for, if we're getting ready to watch pay-per-view and we just throw on some old matches in the build-up, like. Yeah. But that's the only time I ever watch old matches, really, like, unless something has to be truly special for me to, like, or at least special to me, that I can rewatch it at a moment's notice.
And
like, I'd be similar, it's different with movies. Like with movies and stuff, I can watch movies on loop, certain movies anyway. But like, same with TV shows, I can't watch TV shows. I can't rewatch TV shows. There's very few TV shows I can just throw on again.
See, I can rewatch TV shows. I can't rewatch movies.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, yeah. I couldn't rewatch Breaking Bad. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm like, it's just like, I know it's brilliant. I know it is, yeah. But I just couldn't. The fact that it's just, I don't know. It's so much of my time to rewatch something that I know what's going to happen already. Like, but anyway. So that match happened, Kenny and Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 11, the first match, and I remember I literally woke up that morning and turned on my phone, and just like the internet was on fire about this match, like, and it was just like the longest Wrestle Kingdom match of all time, and an absolute all-time classic. Is this the greatest wrestling match of all time? And I had to watch it, and I found it, and I watched it. It was I think it was 40. I think it's 47 minutes long, and I remember I watched it and I was just so enthralled in it. I
Yeah.
was like, I just thought it was amazing. So I watched it. As soon as it ended, I started it again and I watched it again. So it was like an hour and a half watching the same match.
Yeah.
And I was going to my girlfriend's house that evening. And I got there and I was like, there was this match in Japan. And there was this match in Japan. It was unbelievable. You have to watch it. And she was like, I don't want to watch it. Like, I was like, I was like, please, this is so, like, trust me, it's an epic, like, you know what I mean? It's 47 minutes of two guys just absolutely kicking the piss out of each other. And it's like, it's not just wrestling, it's Japanese wrestling. So it's proper high octane, you know, it's high intensity. The storytelling is off the chain. And she was like, all right, so fine, turn it on. So I turned on. So this is now my third time watching this match in the space of about 12 hours. And and we're sitting down and we're watching it. I'm literally like, I'm like that kid. I'm literally sitting like on the poof, like 5 feet from the telly, and I just keep looking. I keep like looking back at her, like, oh my god, did you see that? And she's half interested, like glancing at her phone, glancing at the telly, and when it was over, I remember being like, well, what you think of that anyway? And she was like, that was in Japan, was it? I was like, yeah, it was, yeah. So why was one of them white? I was like, Joe, it was such a stupid question that I knew that, like, because like, I think when I said, you know, Japanese wrestling, she expected two Japanese guys.
Yeah, yeah.
It totally took her out of the match that Kenny Omega wasn't Japanese. And it was just, I don't know what it was, but like the question threw me so much. I was like, how do I answer that? Because he wasn't born in Japan, I suppose. That's why he's not Japanese. Like, I don't know. Like I was like, you don't have to be Japanese to work there. Like, and she was like, yeah, I know, but like, I thought you said it was Japanese wrestling. I was like, yeah, like it is, but like, yeah. And after that, I was like, yeah, I'm never showing her anything I love ever again.
I had one of those moments as well with Emily, and it was like, it was earlier on. She's gotten better now. She understands wrestling more now. This was like very early on, and you know me, and you know like what my favorite match of all time is Undertaker Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 25.
Yeah.
So I turn that on, we watch it, and it gets to the part which, you know, for me as a wrestling fan, it's the greatest near fall of all time, where Shawn Michaels does the skin the cat, and he comes back up, and Taker catches him and gets him the tombstone, and Shawn Michaels is trying to wiggle out of the tombstone, and Taker gets it, puts him down, and 1, 2, and Shawn Michaels kicks out.
Yeah, and this is like no one kicks out of the tombstone like at this point.
Yeah, and like the crowd erupts, and Undertaker like can't believe it, and he kicks out, and she burst out laughing. Like, what are you laughing at? It was the Undertaker's face. You know, when he kicks out, he's like, he has his head on Shawn Michaels' chest.
That
he can't believe it.
Yeah.
She just found that hilarious. It was like, how are you not emotionally invested in this?
Yeah. Like, see, I guess the one thing that I know why Katie will never ever truly love wrestling as much as I will, or as much as, you know, even a casual fan will.
Yeah.
Is whenever we watch a movie together, whenever we watch a TV show together, it's rare we watch TV shows together because I just can't do it. But like, if we're watching, especially movies, if we watch a movie together, she is that person who looks up what happens in the movie as we're I'm like, and even if it's a movie I've seen, like it's happened where it's been a movie that I've watched myself, and I'm like, throw this on, this is actually really good. And she, like, I'd be like, oh, I haven't seen this in years, but it's actually good, let's throw it on. And she'd be like, yeah, right. And we throw it on, and like she'll just start like look it up. She was like, especially if she's invested. That's the thing. She'll only do it if she actually likes the movie.
But why not just Watch the movie.
But like that's the thing. She's like, what's gonna happen? Is he gonna die, or is or is he gonna, I don't know, whatever, kill that person? And you're just like you'll find out in like 5 minutes. Like just watch it, like. And she'd be like, he does, doesn't he? I'm like, no, I'm not telling you. Like, I'm not. It's better if you just watch it. And she's like, oh yeah, 2 seconds there, and she'll just literally Google it and just start scrolling as fast as she can to find the point of the movie we're at. And it's like, it's and the worst part is it's always with like thrillers or horror movies, because which is like the movie that you need to be invested in the most, because that's when you get the most out of it, when there's like a scare.
Yeah.
And she's like, or like when you're on the edge of your, like when I'm on the edge of my seat, she's laying back in the couch, just like checking out what's happening in the movie. Like, and then she will like, it's just so annoying. It's gotten to the point where I'm like, I can't watch anything with you anymore.
So if you're sitting there watching The Usual Suspects, she's Googling.
She knows the guys are so dead, like.
Yeah.
And and what's it called? So I think that's why she might never ever truly like wrestling, because she'll never, especially if she's watching live wrestling, she'll never quite know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but like, does she watch TV shows live? Like,
yeah, she does, right? So she watches. You see, this is the weird thing about her. Like, she watches TV shows, and she watches them. All right, we try to watch TV shows together. All right, we try to be that couple.
Yeah,
and
yeah, we're the same.
Yeah, the first TV show we tried to watch together was Black Mirror, and we started it and we watched. I think we watched the first 2 episodes, either the first episode or the first 2 episodes, together. And I was hooked. I thought I love that show. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And she was like, yeah, it was good. Like she didn't love it, but she was intrigued to watch more of it. And I remember like being like, at the time I didn't have a Netflix account. We were only going out, I say, probably less than a year, I say. Yeah. And I didn't have a Netflix account, and she did. And I couldn't wait till the next week to turn on her Netflix in her house to watch the next episode of Black Mirror. So I said, can I have your account to just, just to watch it? And she was like, well, I thought we were watching together. I was like, you don't really like it, do you? I was trying to convince her that she didn't like the show.
Yeah.
So that watch it. And then after, she still holds it against me to this day that like I watched the show on without her, and like I was like, did you finish watching the show? And she was like, no. So I was like, yeah. What's your problem? You didn't even watch the show. And you were saying we tried to do The Haunting of Hill House together as well, and we watched the first episode, and then she didn't want to watch anymore, but I did. And for some reason it was my fault for watching on the show that she didn't want to watch anyway. I just can't watch. She watches TV shows, and like she started when lockdown started last year. She started watching Grey's Anatomy, and like that's obviously a stupidly long show. It's like 17 seasons and like 23 episodes a season. It's a ridiculous amount of TV, and like that, like she told me she knew. Like she was after looking up what happens in like season 7 when she's on season 2. And I was just like, what? How is this enjoyable to you? How do you take joy out of that? Like, and I don't know. She's a strange cat when it comes to TV, but
anyway, that was a major tangent.
Yeah. What were we talking about? We started on exploding barbed wire death matches.
I was saying how I was explaining this exploding barbed wire death match concept to Emily, but like it's an interesting one. Obviously they've done well to recover from it, which hats off to them. Like it's weird. They're lucky that Eddie Kingston is as good as he is.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I was saying to you earlier, like it's crazy that like he went from a guy who was meant to be like a one-time appearance in AEW to literally someone who saved the company's ass
Yeah.
when it literally. I'm not saying this could have been the death of AEW, but they could have lost a lot of credibility.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it would be the death of AEW, but
No,
like it's certainly.
But people would have
wouldn't.
been like, "Ah, for God's sake!" Like that was.
It's the first kind of major thing, especially in a main event, that they've done where people have been like, "Oh Jesus," like.
Yeah.
They have done some stupid shit as well, but it's always been like earlier in the card, and they've always finished strong. And
Yeah.
Bully Ray tweeted right after the main event last week, like a quote from Vince McMahon, which is always true. He said like, oh, he put it in brackets. They only ever remember the finish, and it was like the quote was Vince's quote, and like it is very true, because the pay-per-view can be won or lost in how it ends.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
and like that's the thing, that was the first kind of mishit that they've had in terms of a finish for a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So
and like that, like the match, like it was a shame because the match itself from bell to bell was actually
really good. Yeah.
And then it was just the aftermath that kind of.
The aftermath, I thought the period in between the bell and the explosion was very long. Like the whole Gallows and Anderson, and
I looked it up. I looked. I like see this thing as well. I don't know how true they were to the actual time, because they said like it was 30 minutes after the bell that the bomb would go off, and when I looked it up, I think the match ended after 22 minutes. So,
but I meant from the final bell, like when.
But that's what I mean. Like, I don't know, was it literally a true 8 minutes after?
It seemed like it was a very long time, and like they kind of alluded to it again on Dynamite, when John Moxley was like, "You only came out with 10 seconds to go on the bomb," when he was saying to Kingston, he was like, "What the hell were you doing? I was getting beaten up for 8 minutes," and like at that point, it kind of doesn't make sense, but and I did think it was quite long, but I thought from bell to bell, it was a good match. It's just the aftermath. Like, I hate to say ruined it, but it kind of did, because that's what people will remember.
Well, that's not what people were talking about,
Yeah. So that was the only thing people were talking about coming out of the pay-per-view, really, because like even the Sting Darby Allin stuff didn't really get much mention after the pay-per-view. Was the only thing, and I thought that was visually really good.
I saw a lot of people calling it, the best cinematic match so far. I tend to disagree with that, but I think it was one of the best produced. Like, I think it was very well shot. It was very
when they say that, when people said that, do they mean AEW, or do they mean overall?
Well, if they mean AEW, then I'd agree with them. But
yeah, unless you count the Stadium Stampede.
I would count it, but I still think I preferred this one.
Yeah, I would prefer the Stadium Stampede, but like it was great. I think in cinematic terms, I would think the Boneyard match was better. But
yeah, like it's the Firefly Funhouse for me. But then again, like we've talked about that before, how like that exists on its own kind of level. Like that wasn't even that was an experience, let alone never mind a match.
Yeah,
but like,
it was really good. I saw someone tweet like, why did Christopher Nolan direct this wrestling match? Which is very true.
Yeah, that's quite good. But apparently Darby had a lot to do with it, because
you can tell.
Apparently,
but he's a cinematographer anyway, isn't he?
Yeah, he went to film school, so like, he would have had a lot to do with it, and I think it was really well done. I thought it was the perfect way to kind of cap off the Taz Darby feud. And
the only thing I don't like about AEW's cinematic matches is that they commentate over it.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't fit.
For a match like that, it doesn't fit. For a Stadium Stampede, I get it.
Yeah. but like, yeah, when they're in this dreary warehouse and it's black and white, and you know it's all moody, and like you said, it's very Christopher Nolan, and like you have
Like, are we supposed to believe that this is live? And
yeah, and they're just doing these mad cuts everywhere.
yeah, like, and it looks like we're watching a movie, but is it supposed to be live? So if you could shoot this like this for everything that was live, why doesn't wrestling look like this all the time? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, I know exactly. And like, I suppose they're just trying to fill kind of maybe dead silences in the match, but sure, like you can just put a score of good music over it, and or ominous music, and
Yeah, like
you'd have the same result.
like with the Boneyard match, they had like Metallica playing and stuff like that. Like there is definitely ways around it.
There is. It's something they should look into, because if they can get that out of the way, like it's very distracting. Do you know what I mean? And if they can get rid of that, then they'd have as good a cinematic match as anyone.
Especially, I thought it was very distracting because you had Taz on commentary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like why aren't you there?
Why you're in the feud? Why wouldn't you go?
Like your son, like that's the thing, like your son is there.
who dropped him off?
Like your son's getting his ass kicked here by Sting, and you're sitting on commentary going, "Oh no." Yeah. But yeah, so Sting, that's the thing. Like that's how crazy the finish to the barbed wire death match was. That like people just completely glanced over the fact that Sting made a pay-per-view appearance like in a match.
Yeah.
Darby Allin, man, like it's a toss-up between him and Hangman for my favorite AEW wrestler. And like he is such a crazy person. Like I'm scared for him in the sense that like I'm terrified he's gonna do something too stupid one day. Like everything he does is stupid. No sane person should do what he does, but like I'm so scared he's gonna push it too far one day. And like
yeah.
there was two big spots for me in this match that like were just like, oh my god. Like the seesaw with Hobbs and Cage into the pane of glass, and it wasn't even the initial impact through the pane of glass. Do you remember when the frame slid down and bonked him on the head?
Yeah,
that looked sore. And then obviously the big finish with the elbow drop off like the second floor down to the ground floor, and through like the wood and stuff onto Cage, and like that was insane. Like I mean, like that man is crazy. But yeah, like Revolution as a whole, like I said, it was. See, I don't want to call it an average pay-per-view because it wasn't, but it was an average pay-per-view by AEW standards.
Yeah,
it's like Joe, like it's like when a takeover is bad. There's never a bad takeover, but there's just kind of
ones that are worse than others.
Yeah, there's just not.
Still
they're like,
not bad.
It's either excellent or it's good. But when it's good, it's just not. It's like, oh well, it's not takeover quality.
Yeah, and again, like, you're a victim of your own success that way.
Yeah, literally. But the fallout from Revolution has been somewhat more. How do I put this? I don't know. Whetting the appetite for future matches, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick what was the kind of biggest moment. Like we already kind of talked about, Kingston and Moxley.
Well, the biggest moment for me is the formation of the. Do they have a name? MJF?
Not yet. No, not yet. I'd imagine that'll come either next week or maybe in the coming weeks. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they haven't given themselves a name yet. People are already calling them the Horsemen.
There's 5 of them, though.
Yeah, there's 5 of them. I know, which is why I don't want them to be called the Horsemen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you don't know, at Revolution, Jericho and MJF unsuccessfully challenged for the AEW tag titles. And then after, later on the night, there was a backstage interview, and they both said that on Dynamite they were going to have a war council, because they needed to address the problems in the inner circle. They hadn't been as successful lately, and they needed to talk about they needed to talk about the issues, and MJF was like, changes need to be made. Changes need to be made, and looking directly at Jericho, kind of insinuating that he thinks Jericho is the weak link. But then this week on Dynamite, we get, there's Jericho, MJF, Hager, Santana, and Ortiz in the ring, and they're talking. They're saying, we need to address the issues and stuff, and they're about to start talking about it. And Sammy Guevara's music hits. Obviously, Sammy was the guy who was kind of excommunicated from the Inner Circle. He quit. He turned face and he quit. But he comes back and he shows Chris. He's like, I need you to see this. Check this out. And he shows, like, he set up a camera in the locker room earlier. And MJF, it's MJF with Hager, Santana, and Ortiz. And he says, look, Jericho's got to go. Are you with me? And they all seem to agree. And then it looks like MJF, Hager, and Santana and Ortiz are about to beat down Guevara and Jericho. And it's revealed that Hager and Santana and Ortiz are actually with Jericho. The original Inner Circle is back, and it looks like they're going to, beat down MJF. And MJF, with a brilliant, like, this was what made MJF just, like, he's a top quality heel anyway. We know that, but this is what made him like a cut above the rest, because it seemed like he had no way out. It seemed like he was a goner. He was going to get an ass kicking. It seemed like he'd been outsmarted. Hager, Santana, and Ortiz swindled him. And he says, Chris, I never wanted your stable because I was too busy forming my own. Yeah. And which was a fantastic line. And MJF has had this set up since the very start. And they turn around and it's Wardlow, FTR, and Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard. And we get a big old battle. They beat down Jericho, beat him up with his bat, hit him with a dynamite diamond ring, and then a big power bomb off the stage through a table for the finish. And MJF has a new stable. They don't have a name yet. We don't know the name. And it's a really good fit. Like obviously him and Wardlow have been a thing since Wardlow debuted, but like it actually works really well.
Yeah.
The whole with FTR and Spears as well, because Spears and FTR have always kind of been linked due to the Tully Blanchard connection. They've never been fully affiliated, but they're like, Tully was managing both of them and they both kind of had similar qualities. But now they seem to be now they are a genuine faction. And I'm very excited for this because that was the thing when MJF joined the Inner Circle. My issue was that like MJF is not a follower. Like, he's not second fiddle. You know what I mean? He is a leader. If he's ever in a stable, he should be the leader. And he was never going to be above Jericho in that stable. It was always going to be a power struggle. And now he's got his own stable with Wardlow, FTR, and Spears. And I think, if done correctly, that this could literally, especially with Undisputed Era no longer a thing, this could be the best stable in wrestling in a year, maybe. Like, if they stay together long. But I think acts like, LIJ and Bullet Club, they're still obviously quite good, but they've just been around so long that it doesn't even feel like a stable. It just feels like a thing that these guys are also a part of. And this feels like they could run it. These guys feel like they could run AEW and be the Four Horsemen, be the Evolution, that just runs rampant at the top of the card and no one can stop them until someone does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited for this. People are already saying we should be getting MJF stable versus the Inner Circle in a blood and guts match.
Yeah, I think that's where this is leading.
Yeah. I reckon, maybe Double or Nothing. But I don't know, because obviously Double or Nothing, like, the whole reason the blood and guts match was scrapped the first time was because of the pandemic and because, lack of crowd. And all that stuff. So, and they've confirmed that Double or Nothing this year will be in Jacksonville again. So will it happen? I don't know. I don't see why not. Like, it gets to a point where, like, because I know Tony Khan said stuff after Revolution where he was saying, like, we've got some big things up our sleeves for when crowds return. And maybe that's one of them. I don't know. But it gets to a point where you're like, fuck it. Like, if it makes sense, just do it. Like,
yeah. I suppose one of the things as well we failed to mention around the pay-per-view, which was big news and bled into Dynamite, was the signing of Christian Cage.
Yeah.
And like, obviously Christian returned at the Royal Rumble, and it was kind of and it was kind of a thing where, like, you kind of think, okay, is he going to come back full time? Is he going to wrestle? It looked like, he might. There was talks of, the Big E thing and stuff like that, but what we didn't know was that he actually wasn't under contract, and his contract with Fox had expired, so he had no actual ties to the WWE. So he went and negotiated a deal with AEW, and see, like, what's interesting as well, and it kind of worries me as well a bit, is that he revealed, first off, that he thought the original plan was for him to be a surprise either on the pay-per-view or on the following Dynamite. He thought that it might just be him attacking Kenny or something like that.
Yeah.
That he wouldn't be announced. But he then said, he watched Dynamite like last week, and they said, "Oh, we have this big announcement. Someone, a Hall of Fame worthy, is signing." But he knew it was about him, but he hadn't signed at that point.
Oh, really?
He wasn't signed. He said it was at the final stage, like, of negotiations. He was on the verge of signing, but that worries me, because
he could have turned around and said, "You know what? Actually,
yeah, like, he wasn't contractually obliged to be there."
Yeah.
So it kind of worries me.
There was nothing stopping WWE coming in with a contract and him just signing with WWE last minute, like.
Yeah, but so that's kind of worrying. But no, he's signed now. Looks like he's feuding with Kenny Omega, who also is wrestling for the Impact World Title.
Which is huge. That is huge. So so
he's probably going to win.
Yeah, you would imagine. Like this Saturday on Sacrifice, we've got Rich Swann versus Moose in a unification match. So Swann is the Impact World Champion and Moose is the TNA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
And they're going to face off in a unification match, and then the winner goes on to Rebellion to face Kenny for and the AEW title will be on the line as well. So winner takes all.
Is the AEW title on the line as well? I didn't know that.
It is, yeah. It's title for title.
Oh, so of course he's winning.
Yeah, he obviously is winning, yeah. It's just a matter of who's it going to be. Is it going to be Swann or Moose? It genuinely could be either, because they've sowed seeds for both.
Yeah.
I think it'll be Swann personally, just because he's had. Yeah, I think it'll be Swann. Because he's a babyface as well, I suppose, but also because he's been champion now for 6 months, coming on 6 months. Like, I know Moose has had that TNA title for ages, but like, it's not really a title. They're only kind of recognizing it out of stubbornness. So, like, don't get me wrong, Kenny and Moose would probably be a really good match, but I think Kenny and Swann could legit be a match of the year contender.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Kenny adds a third belt to his collection. We're slowly creeping there.
What I hope they do now is like, I hope once because he was talking about being this belt collector. Like, I want to see him bring the AAA title out with him now as well.
Yeah. See, I don't know. Do AAA actually have it in case that, like, they decide to strip him of it?
Maybe. Case that's the issue. But even send him out a replica. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because even when you said third title there, I had to
You
think for
forgot,
a
you
second.
forget
I
it was the
forgot he
Triple A.
was the AAA champion as well.
And like there was times, remember he was feuding with do you remember when it was like it was the Lucha Bro, or when
yeah,
he
he
was
he defended it on Dynamite, like.
he's defended on Dark as well at one point against Jack Evans just on a random episode of Dark. But
Yeah,
and like he's coming up on is it like 500 and something days as champion now, or 600
yeah,
and something? Like he can legit become the longest reigning AAA champion. Like the record's held by Texano Jr., who had it for 720 odd days.
yeah,
But like Kenny's not that far away from it, and it's like,
yeah.
but yeah,
Um. So yeah, that was that. Is there anything else in terms of AEW Dynamite or AEW at the moment?
not really. I suppose
They're having their first women's main event next
event
week.
next week. Yeah,
Britt
Britt
Baker and
Baker
Thunder
versus
Rosa,
Rosa in
which is
an unsanctioned match, which
yeah,
should be good.
which would be interesting.
On this
Um,
St. Patrick's Day slam, gotta love that.
um, but yeah, I suppose we can move on and talk about NXT and the two major announcements that they had yesterday,
Yeah,
which everyone thought was going to be their
Tuesday night.
rumored move to Tuesday nights.
Yeah,
It
which hasn't
wasn't.
happened. Yeah,
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 it was a 2-night NXT takeover, which caught me by surprise.
yeah.
I
NXT
didn't think they
takeover.
were going to do, but it kind of makes sense because there's no point having NXT on the Wednesday and
And then
take over the next night. You might as well
yeah,
make it 2 nights.
yeah.
So
NXT takeover, stand and deliver.
yeah. So I wonder how it'll work in terms of the network, because I wonder will that be live on the network, because they have a contract with USA. They'll have to air something on the Wednesday night. So my guess is that I saw BT Sport over in Europe have announced that both nights will be aired on BT Sport. So I don't know if the actual takeover itself will be on the network, but I'm assuming it will.
I say it will be.
Yeah.
I reckon this'll be. I reckon it'll be one of these things where like it'll be on the network. They'll inform USA like, look, this is a pay per view. We need to do it, on the Wednesday and the Thursday, and then offer like the replay to USA or something on on the Sunday or something, or before Mania or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, something like that. I don't know, but I reckon, yeah, I think it'll be on the network. My biggest interest is how many matches are there going to be? Like, is it literally going to be 5 on each night, or is it going
Maybe.
to? And if that's the case, who main events what?
I would say men's champion and women's champion
Yeah, but
main
if they,
event each night.
yeah, that's what people were saying, because it looks like we're definitely getting Balor versus Cross now,
Yeah.
and Io Shirai challenged Raquel Gonzalez last night, so that looks like it could be the match for Takeover as well. But
And we'll probably get Kyle O'Reilly and
that's what I was going to say. If that match happens, and it's that should main event one of the nights, in my opinion.
yeah. What I could definitely see happening is that's the Thursday night. I definitely could see Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole. Winner faces the winner of the NXT title match at WrestleMania.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
I could definitely see that happening. It kind of makes sense, but I'm intrigued with Balor and Karrion Kross, because Balor is on such a roll right now that
Yeah. Like
it doesn't feel right to take the title off him right now. But then again, it doesn't feel right for him to beat Karrion Kross right now either.
Yeah, he's having some of the legit best matches of his career.
Yeah.
At the minute, like the match with Dunn, the 2 matches with O'Reilly, like they were fantastic. Like but like you said, like Cross is a guy who probably still would be NXT champion if it wasn't for injury.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be a hard one to predict. but I am looking forward to it because I think it would be quite cool. Yeah, and I suppose the other big announcement that they made prior to the 2-night takeover was the introduction of the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, which garnered a lot of controversy online because people were saying, why not just put the women's tag titles on NXT? This kind of takes a bit of the shine off the WWE women's tag titles because now they're not going to be defended on NXT anymore. Also, why wasn't the Dusty Cup for the inaugural tag titles if they're going to do this anyway? And also, like, NXT is now a 2-hour show with 6 titles? Yeah, 6 championships.
Yeah.
I guess, and like Triple H literally only a month ago said that like he's not a fan of having a load of titles.
Yeah, I know. I guess that, but I saw a lot of people ragging on him for that. But at the end of the day, it is also like, as much as NXT is his baby, he doesn't own NXT.
Yeah.
That's Vince, and you can have a preference for wrestling, and I'd imagine Triple H has a preference, and he'd rather a limited thing of belts or whatever. But at the end of the day, with Vince, and it's another belt to market. It's another, you can sell other like replica toys of this belt now. You can sell actual proper replica belts for collectors and stuff like that. It opens up like another avenue and another belt to sell. So that's the business perspective on it. But as a fan, putting my fan hat on and not my marketing hat on, I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't like that there's too many belts. Like the men's tag team titles don't get enough time on NXT at the moment. So like, the women's tag team titles probably will get probably won't get as much time either. You know what I mean? So
I mean, like, it's
the only thing I would be pro this for is that it'll create more tag teams to go up to the main roster and stay as tag teams. You'd hope, yeah.
But like this is like, it feels like a weekly occurrence now. I go off on the women's tag titles, but like, it's like I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Like, like, they were titles that were introduced at the time. They were a great idea because WWE had like 6 or 7 legit women's tag teams that made sense, and it felt like they could have been battling for these titles, and it felt like almost as if these were going to be the mid-card titles for the women's division, which would have been fine, but they didn't do that. They literally lost interest in them almost practically immediately.
Yeah.
They just haven't been booked correctly, and now they've been, and the fans, we all as fans went, what was the point of bringing in the women's tag titles when you're not even going to feature them on the show? And then WWE, to compensate for that, featured them in every single women's feud that has been going on for the last year. How many times has either the Raw or SmackDown or both women's champions been in the tag title picture as well?
Yeah.
Like, literally go over all the women's tag title matches that took place last year. How many of them featured another women's tag champion. Or another women's champion rather? And now we have NXT, and like, when Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez won the Dusty Classic, and it was confirmed that they were going to get a shot at Jackson Baszler, I was like, well, hopefully this is them seeing sense, taking the titles off them, putting them on NXT, and putting them on, putting it on a brand with legit 4 or 5 women's tag teams that can compete regularly, and aren't just thrown together, that have been a tag team for ages. It gives Kyan Gonzalez a chance to go to Raw and SmackDown every now and again to kind of get a bit of exposure there.
Yeah.
And like it this feels like the right move for those titles. And instead NXT were like, nah, we'll just bring in our own, which is fine now. But like what happens? Because the inevitable thing with tag team is that they break up. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
what's it called? Like it was the same with the cruiserweight title. Like the cruiserweight title was being featured on Raw, and it wasn't getting the exposure that it deserved on Raw. So they put it down in NXT, and it makes perfect sense down in NXT. It gets like the cruiserweight champion was in a feud with Karrion Kross like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like it's getting the cruiserweight title gets enough exposure that you know it's a thing. Whereas like, and also like the kind of more like I was surprised by the announcement of the NXT women's tag titles. I don't necessarily agree with it, but the thing that shocked me the most was they gave Kyan Gonzalez the inaugural titles for winning the Dusty Classic. They were like, here you go. And obviously they got screwed in their title match against Jackson Baszler. And then it was announced that later on the night they'd have to defend their titles against Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. And Shotzi and Ember won, and we got new tag champions.
Yeah.
Hours after the inaugural champions were crowned, which was kind of strange to me. I know it's to free up Raquel to go after Io, but like if that was the case, why didn't she just have them lose a match for?
Yeah, we'd just do a match for the titles and then go from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like it was very.
It's already complicated booking.
Yeah, and I was hilarious though. I saw like a lot like people were already saying like Ember Moon is the first woman to win the NXT women's and NXT women's tag titles.
Well, yeah, like
no, but like there's pictures of like Charlotte Flair just like fizzing, just being like, can't believe that's not me. But probably will be soon.
Not enough else for Charlotte to hold up.
Yeah, she'll go down with Lacey or something. Joe and Lacey comes back.
Yeah. They'll and Charlotte and her stepmother.
As a big Flair stable, but yeah.
Other than that, there's not much else. We'll probably leave it there then, unless there's anything else from your end.
Just I suppose congratulations to Molly Holly.
Yes, actually, I forgot. Yeah, Molly Holly, going into the Hall of Fame, first inductee of the 2021 class. They announced this week as well that the 2020 class will be honored in the 2021 ceremony. So I shudder to think how long that ceremony will be.
Oh, Christ.
I thought if anything was going to be 2 nights over WrestleMania, it'd be the Hall of Fame because they're putting in 2 nights worth of people this year.
Yeah,
but obviously not. So I don't know
unless they literally just do like a shortened 2021 class that they only announced like a couple of names.
But it's a bit early to be announcing people if it's going to be a shortened class.
Yeah, I suppose because they usually do like one a week up until Mania.
Yeah, but we'll have to wait and see. But obviously Molly Holly, a wrestler who was one of like way ahead of her time, someone who was a great worker back when great women's workers were few and far between, especially in the WWE.
Yeah.
And someone who's influenced many careers. Countless people come forward this week and said, that the things that she had done, or Molly Holly had done for them in aiding them in their career. She's been responsible for a lot of the women's wrestlers you see right now. So, someone who, again, as I said, is ahead of her time, and it'll be interesting to see who inducts her.
Shane Helms,
maybe, but he announced it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like
Bob Holly.
Bob Holly. I was thinking it'd be Trish Stratus, but I could be wrong.
Well, sorry, what you say? You kind of cut out there.
I think it's probably going to be Trish Stratus.
Yeah, maybe.
Because Like unless you do someone from the right to censor, maybe. But
Who did she face at WrestleMania 20 when she shaved her head?
Victoria.
Victoria. It was Victoria. Maybe Victoria. Obviously, she came back
Maybe.
recently.
And like again, that WrestleMania shows her dedication. Like that story behind that was like incredible in the sense that she wasn't on the Mania card. She wanted to be on the Mania card. She went to Vince and was like, can I get a match on the Mania card? Like, I want to wrestle Victoria. And he was like, oh, unless there's like a marquee stipulation or something, I don't really see it. And she was like, do a hair match. I'll shave my head. She wanted to be on WrestleMania so bad she was willing to wear a head shave.
I could just imagine like Vince just looking at her being like, okay.
yeah. But like she wanted to be on WrestleMania so bad that she was willing to get shaved bald in the middle of Madison Square Garden at WrestleMania 20. And did. They'll let her do it.
They probably reenacted at the Hall of Fame ceremony. But I was gonna say before I let you go, who else do you think? Just a quick prediction as to who else do you think might go in this year as part of the 2021 class.
I would have said Christian, but obviously not now. Jeez, you put me on the spot now. Headliner.
Well, if judging off past experiences, Molly Holly's the headliner because she's the first announcement.
No. I'd say she's not the headliner. I'd say it's someone else. It's not always the first person announced as the headliner. I know that's been the way the last couple of years, but it hasn't always been the case.
You know who I want to go in, and they should do it.
Who?
Brody Lee, John Huber, like
that'd be cool. That would be cool. That actually would be really cool if they did that. And had Rowan induct him. That would be cool. Trying to think of others.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Well, yeah, exactly. Trying to think of others like for headliners, Taker.
Yeah, maybe. if it was Taker, they would have announced it way before now.
True.
Like I think they want to give I think next year maybe when they can do a proper Hall of Fame.
Yeah. But let me think about it, and I'll come back next week.
When we do our actually no, I was gonna say when we do our WrestleMania preview, but sure, a load of them will probably be announced by then.
They'll be all be announced by then. It'll be the week before.
Yeah, come back to me next week. There's your homework, but that's been us.
Yeah, go on. You were going to sign us off there. I was actually going to do it, but I couldn't in front of you, so go on.
No, I was going to say that's been us. Obviously, like Jack said at the start of the episode, we were meant to have a guest on this week, but unfortunately, due to circumstances outside our control, that couldn't happen. But it will happen in the coming weeks. We also have a couple of more guests lined up for future episodes in the build up to WrestleMania. And it's going to be good. So stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter at JB Wrestling 1998. Follow us on Instagram at Just Because of Wrestling, and follow us. Oh, if you want to inquire into the podcast or anything, if you have any questions, queries, anything like that, you can email us at jbwrestling50@gmail.com.
And DMs are open on Twitter as well if you want to contact us there.
DMs are open on Twitter as well. So that's been us. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes, and Jack,
thanks for listening. Stay tuned for my Hall of Fame predictions. I'll come back with my homework next week.
Yeah, do.